Um, Actually, it is one of my favorite books in psychology books. Actually, yeah, called "The Loss of Human Nature" by Robert Greene, and I could say it is just an important meaning to me because this is my first English version of book, and also my first psychology book that I read in my life. So it is just meaningful. So today I'm going to start reading this book again. And then because I lost a lot of terms and psychology theories as well, that's why I just gonna try to read it over and over again. Okay, so this is I think the lesson for to improve my English skill. So I tried it. So today is in a little bit different way, but I'm kind of excited because I love this book, right? Okay, let's get started. Fortunately, to acquire rationality is not complicated. It simply requires knowing and working through a three-step process. First, we must become aware of what we shall call low-grade irrationality. This is a function of continual moods and feelings that we experience in life below the level of consciousness. When we plan or make decisions, we are not aware of how deeply these moods and feelings skew the thinking process. They create in our thinking, pronounce the biases that are so deeply ingrained in us that we see evidence of them in all cultures and all periods of history. These biases, by distorting reality, lead to the mistakes and ineffective decisions that flag our lives. Being aware of them, we can begin to counterbalance their effects. Second, we must understand the nature of what we shall call high-grade irrationality. This occurs when our emotions become inflamed, generally because of certain pressures. As we think about our anger, excitement, resentment, or suspicion, it intensifies into a reactive state. Everything we see or hear is interpreted through the lens of this emotion. We become more sensitive and more prone to other emotional reactions. Impatience and the resentment can bleed into anger and deep distrust. These reactive states are what lead people to violence, to many obsessions, to uncontrol of the greed, or to desires to control another person. This form of irrationality is the source of more acute problems, crises, conflicts, and disastrous decisions. Understanding how this type of irrationality operates can allow us to recognize the reactive state as it is happening and to pull back before we do something we regret. Third, we need to enact certain strategies and exercises that will strengthen the thinking part of the brain and give it more power to the eternal struggle with our emotions. Emotions are continually affecting our thought process and decisions below the level of our awareness. Emotion, yeah. And the most common of I'm sorry, and the most common emotion of them all is the desire for pleasure and the avoidance of pain. Our thoughts almost inevitably revolve around this desire. We simply recoil from entertaining ideas that are unpleasant or painful to us. We imagine we are looking for the truth or being realistic, when in fact we are holding on to ideas and that bring a release from tension and soothe our egos. Make us feel superior. This pleasure principle in thinking is the source of all of our mental biases. If you believe that you are somehow immune to any of the following biases, it is simply an example of the pleasure principle in action. Instead, it is the best to search and to see how they continually operate inside you as well as then learn how to identify such irrationality in others. Confirmation bias. I look at evidence and arrive at my decisions through more or less rational processes. But because of the pleasure principle and its unconscious influence, we manage to find the evidence that confirms what we want to believe. This is known as confirmation bias. In the end, the people want to hear their own ideas and preferences and are confirmed by the expert opinion. That's it. I'm sorry. What kind of voice is that, Siren? Okay, confirmation bias, right? In the end, the people want to hear their own ideas and preferences confirmed by expert opinion. They will interpret what you say in light of what you want to hear, and if you advise in a run counter their desires, they will find some way to dismiss your opinion, your so-called expertise. The more popular the person, the more they are subject to this form of the confirmation bias. When investigating confirmation bias in the world, take a look at theories that seem a little good to be true. Conviction bias. I believe in this idea so strongly, it must be true. Those, on the other hand, who express nuances, whose tone is more hesitant, reveal weakness and self-doubt. They are probably lying, or so we think. These words make us susceptible to salesmen or demagogues who display conviction as a way to convince and deceive. They know that people are hungry for entertainment, so they cloak their half-truths with dramatic effects. Appearance bias. I understand the people I deal with. I see them just as they are. We see people not as they are, but as they appear to us. And these appearances are usually misleading. First, the people have trained themselves in a social situation in a present a front that is appropriate and that will be judged positively. They seem to be in favor of nobody's causes, always presenting themselves as hardworking and conscious, conscientious. Okay, we take these masks for reality. Second, we are prone to fall for the halo effect. When we see certain negative or positive qualities in a person, such as awkwardness, intelligence, other positive or negative qualities are implied that fit with us. People who are good-looking generally seem more trustworthy, and particularly politicians. If a person is successful, we imagine they are probably also ethical, conscientious, and deserving of their good fortune. This obscures the fact that many people who have gotten ahead in those group less than moral actions, which they cleverly disguise from view. The group bias. My idea is my own. I do not listen to the group. I'm not a conformist. We are social animals by nature. The feeling of isolation, of difference from the group is depressing and terrifying. We experience tremendous relief when we find others who think the same way we do. In fact, we are motivated to take up ideas and opinions because they bring us this relief. We are unaware of this pull, and so imagine we have come to certain ideas completely on our own. Yet few would ever admit this influence on their thought patterns, the blame bias. I learn from experience and mistakes. Mistakes and failure elicit the need to explain. We want to learn the lesson and not repeat the experience. But in truth, we do not like to look closer at what we did. Our introspection is limited. Our natural response to the blame others, circumstances, or a momentary lapse of judgment. The reason for this idea is that it is often too painful to look at our mistakes. It calls into question our feelings of spirituality. It pokes at our ego. Desire and emotion will blind us yet again, and we will repeat exactly the same mistake and go through the same mild recriminating process, followed by forgetfulness and until we die. If people truly learned from their experience, we would find a few mistakes in the world, and the career pattern the essence ever upward. Spirituality bias. I'm different, I'm more rational than others, more ethical as well. Few will say this certain people in conversation. It sounds arrogant. But in numerous opinion polls and studies, when asked to compare themselves with others, people generally express a variation of this. It is equivalent of an optical illusion. We cannot seem to see our faults and irrationalities or those of others. We know, however, the reality, and so some people, perhaps all of us, are merely deceiving ourselves. Rationality and ethical qualities must be achieved through awareness and effort. They do not come naturally. They come through a maturation process. Beware the inflaming factors. The low-grade emotions continue to affect our thinking, and they originated from our own impulses. For instance, the desire for pleasing and comforting thoughts. High-grade emotion, however, comes in certain moments, reaches an explosive peak, and is generally sparked by something external, a person who gets under our skin in particular circumstances. The level of arousal is higher than attention is captured completely. The more the more we think about the emotion, the stronger it gets, which makes us focus even more on it, and so on and so forth. Our minds turn into the emotion, and everything reminds us of our anger or excitement. We become reactive because we are unable to bear the tension this brings. High-grade emotion usually culminates in some rash actions with disastrous consequences. In the middle of such attack, we feel possessed, as if a second living self has taken over. It is best aware of these factors so that you can stop the mind from tolerating and preventing and releasing action that you will always encounter regret. You should also be aware of high-grade irrationality in others to either get out of the way or help bring them back to reality. Trigger points from early childhood. In early childhood, we are at our most sensitive and vulnerable. Our relationship to our parents had a much greater impact on us. The further back in time we go, the same could be said for any other powerful experience. These vulnerabilities and wounds remain buried deep within our minds. Sometimes we try to repress the memory of these influences if they happen to be negative, great fears, or humiliations. Sometimes, however, they are associated with positive emotions, experiences of love and attention that we continue to want to relive. Later in life, and a personal event will trigger a memory of this certain positive or negative experience, and with the release of powerful chemicals or hormones associated with a memory. Take, for example, a young man who had a distant and narcissistic mother as an infant or child. He experienced her coldness as abandonment, and to be abandoned must mean he was somehow unworthy of her love. Or similarly, a new sibling on the scene caused his mother to give him much less attention, which he equally experienced as abandonment. Later in life, in a relationship, a woman might hint at disapproval of some trait or action of his, and all of which is part of a healthy relationship. This will hit a trigger point. He is noticing his flaws, which he imagines and precedes her abandonment of him. He feels a powerful rush of emotion, a sense of imminent betrayal. He doesn't see the source of this. It is beyond his control. He overreacts, accuses, withdraws, all of which leads to the very thing he feared, abandonment. His reaction was to some reflection in his mind, not to the reality. This is the height of irrationality. The way to recognize this in yourself and in others by noticing behavior that is suddenly childish in its intensity and seemingly out of character. This could center on any key emotion. It could be fear of losing control, of failure. In this case, we react by withdrawing from the situation and the presence of others, like a child curling up into a ball. A sudden illness brought on by the intense fear will conveniently cause us to have to leave the scene. It could be love, desperately searching to recreate a close parental or sibling relationship in the present, triggered by someone who vaguely reminds us of the lost paradise. It could be extreme mistrust originating from a authority figure in early childhood who disappointed or betrayed us, generally the father. This often triggers a sudden rebellious attitude. Mm. The great danger here is that misreading the present and reacting to something in the past. We create a conflict, disappointment, and mistrust that only strengthen the wound. In some ways, we are programmed to repeat our experience in the present. Our only defense is awareness. It is happening. We can recognize a trigger point by the experience of emotions that are unusually primal, more uncontrollable than normal. They trigger tears and deep depression or excessive hope. People under the spell of these emotions will often have a very different tone of voice and body language, as if they were physically reliving a moment from early childhood. In the midst of such an attack, we must struggle to detach ourselves and contemplate the possible source, the wound in early childhood, and the parenting has locked us into. This deep understanding of ourselves and our vulnerabilities is key step toward becoming rational. Okay, I can't stop here. It's a really good news story because I reform new routine. That's why it's a really good start. It's a really good start to reread the book that I read, and I just learned a lot of terms and vocabularies and expressions as well. And also, it is one of my favorite psychology books. It's not only psychology books; it's one of my favorite books. That's why. Okay, so it is really good start. Okay, Erin, good job.